welcome to episode 44 of the S&D Podcast Show on the Schmuck Sports Network. Steven is here. Dan's right there. What's going on, Dan?
Not much. How's it going? It was a very fun weekend that we just had. Before we start, we want to make our condolences for all the people that had lost their lives on 9/11 12 years ago.
Yes, we are recording on 9/11.
So. Yeah, it's really I can't believe it's been 12 years. As I'm sure you can either. You were in 8th grade. I was a freshman in high school, so it was just one of those eye-opening days that you will never forget.
I was in social studies.
Yeah, I was in math. But it was just one of those days, every minute of that day, especially if you lived in the New York area like you and me, Steve. Yep. I'm sure everybody who does listen as well knows what went on. But it really, days like this, you really take a step back and reevaluate everything like that. So sports is not that big of a deal. It's just a healing process. Yes. And that's why we all love sports, for those particular reasons. So further ado, let's start off.
We will get into a little bit more about that sports-wise.
Yes, but further ado, we are going to be doing our normal show this week. We just had to hit that key topic off because that's the big monkey in the room.
Week 1 in the books.
We'll
review week 1. We'll review preview up week 2. We also have our good friend from schmucksports.com, Heath, joining us. We'll get some fantasy reaction / overreaction from him. And also, of course, again, with the Yankees, still in the race, but big loss today. Jeter out for the year.
Yeah, but honestly, let's be real. It's Jeter, but he didn't do anything this year for them to consider it a big loss.
It's a locker room thing. But he'll be around.
It's definitely a locker room thing, but...
And we'll get into that after we play a little bit more Submission by Division 1.1.
Welcome back to the S&D Podcast. You just listened to Submission by Division 1.1. Dan here with Steve. Let's start the show off with the typical way. New York Metropolitan Baseball. The least of the exciting topics of this week. The Mets are just...
I don't know. That's pretty boring.
Yeah, but they won. With the Mets, they're just playing out the rest of the month. The September call-ups are finally here. Granted, the players that we are looking forward to watching is already up, so no big deal with that. They're just playing out the season, and that's it. A lot of interesting things. One key Met note we have to bring up is that Matt Harvey is going to Dr. James Andrews in Alabama.
Well, that was originally the plan. It was always to get him. He was always going to be the second opinion. Just they were waiting a couple of weeks before they did it. I would say at this point you might just rather have the Tommy John surgery and not wait it out and then come spring training him say ouch and then he has it.
Honestly though, if he's going to Dr. James Andrews, everybody knows Dr. James Andrews, whether it's a knee, Tommy John. When you go to Dr. James Andrews, it's never a good thing. You can ask RG3, who is actually Redskins head trainer. Head doctor, I should say. Whenever you hear a player going to Birmingham, Alabama for Dr. James Andrews, it's not the best. But obviously, we're praying for Matt Harvey. He could be back by the start of the season if everything goes well and he rehabs right. So I'm hoping
this isn't an ACL surgery.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. It's his forearm. Yeah. So you never know with any injury that's being said. So. But he's obviously one of the best athletic sports doctors around because everybody uses them, whether it's Tommy John or ACL or MCL and PCL and all those fun CLs. Other than that, Dave Wright took batting practice, whatever.
Before we go forward with the Mets, we are recording on 9/11, the 12-year anniversary. And I just wanted to look back a little bit in probably one of, if not the greatest sports moment I was ever a part of. 9/21/01, Mike Piazza, home run against the Braves.
Yeah, I wasn't one of the lucky people to go to the game, but I remember watching the game, and it honestly, from the moment Liza Minnelli did God Bless America in the 7th inning, it was just one of those great games.
Every moment. I was with my grandpa looking over at him, seeing the tears coming down his eyes. Every moment.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those awesome. Yeah, if you know where you were, I was obviously watching the game with my dad, so it was just one of those crazy game moments. Just when Piazza, everybody's favorite Met at the time, especially at our age, being the hero.
We actually have the Howie Rose clip, so we're going to play that real quick for everybody.
Lopez wants it away.
And it's hit deep to left center. Andrew Jones on the run. This one has a chance. Home run! Mike Piazza, and the Mets lead 3-2.
All right, that
again.
still gives me chills. Listening to that call, and Howie Rose actually doing TV still back then.
Yes.
It's just amazing how baseball really took a hold.
Sports.
Yeah, but it was really baseball. That whole run of September and October, and you cannot forget about the Yankees.
That's right. Even we were Yankee fans that year.
Everybody was Yankee fans that year, and they really they lost in Game 7 to the Diamondbacks. In any other year, they would have been the biggest underdog story ever. But the Yankees were everybody's team, and
I think all of America, basically, other than Arizona.
And probably Boston. But the craziest thing at another moment was when George W. threw that first pitch right down the middle for strike, and then all that other stuff, all political views aside. That was a pretty epic moment. Just in the Derek Jeter, Mr. November, just everything that happened, that magical playoff run.
Yep, those 2 or 3 games at home.
And if anybody has never seen it, it would be 9 innings from ground zero. It was one of the most touching pieces I've ever watched.
9 innings from ground zero. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Pretty much, they did a documentary of the Yankees and families with 9/11 and how the Yankees helped them cope, and they had Mary Giuliani and all the Derek Jeters and everything like that. And that's watching that documentary and hearing what WV had to say today really was like, you're a clown.
But at least, why don't you share with everybody?
Pretty much, Bobby V was just was on Joe and Evan on WFAN today, and he was just saying that you never saw a Yankee down by ground zero around New York City or anything like that.
That's just dumb.
That was just, you were out of line for making that silly comment. I'm hoping it was out of context. I only read the reading of it, but it really was one of those, like, why are you saying that? Of all days, New York is on this one and only day, and sports takes a back seat to it. It was just silly.
Yeah. So, he was the manager, though, so we do give him the credit. The Mets were in Pittsburgh.
The Mets were in Pittsburgh, and they voted to come back to New York. And honestly, the Mets were the focal point. Shea Stadium
Shea was the first sporting event back in New York.
Not only that, but Shea was one of the few places that, also like how Citi Field was with Sandy, Citi Field was one of those main areas that they would come for relief and everything like that. And players would help out and everything like that. And that's just how the Mets are a very underrated organization when it comes to humanity and charitable work. You don't expect it out of the Mets. You always expect it out of the Yankees because they're the world-class organization. But the Mets are very classy when it comes to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I've seen it firsthand this year.
Charity and all that stuff.
Especially with the Love for Lisa event. Jay Horowitz coming to the Love for Lisa event. He didn't have to do that after a Met game of a tough loss and working all day. He came, and even though it was 5 minutes of hanging out, he still came and hung out. So it's just the Mets carry on that tradition of being the focal point of the city.
Yeah, and you see it all around with them. It's not just for relief from things. You see them going to children's hospitals. You see them doing all that.
And the best thing, since they are playing the Nats, granted it's at Citi Field, the best thing I think the Mets do yearly is when they go to Walter Reed Soldiers, a Wounded Soldiers Hospital. And that's just one of the great things that the Mets do. And the Mets are just a classy organization when it comes to that things. I just hope in a couple years we get to talk about wins along with these wonderful stuff.
It'll be nice to see sometime soon.
But it's honestly just one of those. Mets are always there being classy. You cannot say the Mets are not classy with charitable work. Back to talk about the field. They're playing the Nats right now. Pretty much, they got smoked 9-0 Monday. They lost 6-3 yesterday, and they're 0-0 at the moment. Zach Wheeler is our only hope right now. So hopefully we win tonight. Then we play 4 against the Marlins, and then 3 against the Giants at home. The homestand.
There's a major doubleheader coming up, right?
Yes, Saturday. Big time doubleheader right there. Yeah. Let's win 2. I don't know. I think the Mets hopefully take 3 out of 4, split the series. I'll take it. But whatever. I hate to say it, but the season, they're just playing out for the rest of the season, playing out for the jobs for next season.
To be fair, if anybody is going to the first game on Saturday, it's a twilight doubleheader.
Okay, it's 4:10. Yes.
SpongeBob SquarePants Day.
Oh, it's a wristband. So that's cool.
So, in case you're going, SpongeBob.
It's just one of those things. Hopefully they just finish up the season strong. It's pretty favorable, other than the Reds in Cincinnati, but the rest of the teams,
Phillies are playing better.
They are playing better, of course, but it's still their team that they can beat. So hopefully the Mets find a way. Unfortunately, it's football Sunday, but the last game of the year is Mike Piazza Appreciation Day. Too bad I'm not going to be going to that game.
I haven't decided yet because the Giants do play the Chiefs.
I know.
Then again, the Chiefs did look good the other day, but then again, They also played the Jaguars. But we'll talk about football later.
Yes, I don't know.
There is another New York team now.
The team is still on the defibrillator, and it's crazy to even think about it. And it's just losing 3 out of 4 against the heated Red Sox, blowing their bullpen, blowing games left and right, and being able to score more than 6 runs in all 4 games.
Wasn't it like the first team ever to score 8 runs or more at home and lose?
Yeah, it's
more than one game.
It's just insane. It was just insanity right now, and the Yankees are still finding a way to keep on ticking, and a lot of it has to do thanks to the Rays. It's just one of those insane things that you don't expect it coming, and it's the Yankees.
Joe Madden said it after the game on the 10th. He said, "I don't know what we have to do, but just something has to click for us."
The Rays are pulling a Mets choke job right now with just being cold at the absolute worst time, and it's just keeping the Yankees in it. And they play a key series next weekend. So next week, in 2 weeks, the 24th.
The last homestand.
The last 3 home games of Yankee Stadium at Yankee Stadium this year. So it's going to be the 24th, through the 26th, and it's going to be maybe the Yankees are still alive by that time. That they're still ticking. They are going to Fenway on this weekend. They're going up against Lackey, Lester, and Buchholz this weekend. But they're, all fairness, they also have their quote unquote stud pitching as well. So hopefully those pitchers wake up and kick ass too. So don't count them out yet. They'll have Nova on Sunday, CC on Saturday, and Kuroda on Friday. So who knows? Maybe it'll be a bunch of pitching duels and the Yankees steal a couple of games. You never know.
Well,
but the way the Red Sox have been playing, it's probably unlikely.
Right.
But you never know. It is baseball, like we always mention, and maybe the Yankees just finally turn it on, like we've been saying every year, every season, every week, I shall say. It's just if it's not this weekend, it's gonna be never kind of thing.
I think they have to take 2 out of 3 in Boston.
They have to take 2 out of 3 in Boston because they can't expect the Rays to lose every game the rest of the season. As much as everybody hopes for it, it's not going to happen, especially if they're going to be playing them in a few weeks. But Yankees do own their own destiny if they play the right way and find ways to win. And Soriano's still red hot.
Oh, yeah. Soriano's staying hot. They did lose Jeter.
Jeter,
like we mentioned earlier.
15-day. Well, doesn't matter.
Done for the year.
Done for the year.
Hasn't really done anything at all this year anyway.
It honestly, for the clubhouse and everything like that, obviously it hurts not having Derek Jeter. But let's be real. This year it was just an overall lost season, and he's not that big of a deal this year, to be fair. The Yankees, like we've been saying every week, which Yankee team is going to show up?
Yeah.
The team that will blow you out by 15 runs, or the team that will score their runs, but their bullpen or starting pitching gets lit up as equally bad. So with the Red Sox, I'm expecting the high-scoring games, and maybe their pitching staff, if they held out one of those couple of games, they wouldn't have lost 3 out of 4 games. So I don't know which Yankee team is going to show up.
You know what's interesting?
They're definitely the underdogs this series coming up.
You know what's interesting about baseball this year? This time of the year? Usually you get at least one division where there's a race.
Yeah, now we have multiple ones. And by the way,
you don't. Atlanta's 12 games up.
Well, Atlanta, you don't.
The NL East is 12 games. The NL West is 13 games. Boston's 8.5 over Tampa. They're not going to catch them with the way Boston's been playing. Detroit's 6 games up. They're not losing that division. The only division that actually, the only two is the West and the Central, and the West in the American League, and the Central in the National.
And by the way, go Pirates! Congratulations for them for the first time of being above 500 in 21 years.
Yes.
Woo! Mazel tov. So, congrats to them. I hope they find a way to make it. That might be a 3-team playoff.
So, as of right now, it will be. It's definitely going to be a 3-team playoff. Unless one of them completely goes on a horrible slide. Because the Cardinals right now are in the division lead. Pittsburgh's 2 games up on Cincinnati for the first wild card spot. Washington's 6.5 games out of a wild card spot.
Yep.
So unless one of them goes on a crazy slide, you're going to see probably either a Pittsburgh or St. Louis versus Cincinnati wild card game in the National League.
And you're absolutely right, and I definitely.
But then again, the Cincinnati could win the division.
So I predicted this year. I hope Cincinnati makes it because I really hope my World Series pick stays alive. But honestly, you can't really hate. I can't admit. I'd love to see the Pirates make a run in the playoffs.
Definitely.
I would gladly be wrong if that's the case.
Okay. 3 weeks and a couple days left in the season. Who wins the AL West?
The AL West?
The AL West. It's the only division that's really a competition.
What do you got? Oakland?
Oakland and Texas, 2.5 games back. Okay, I'll give you the last 10. I'll give you the last 10. Oakland 7-3. Texas 2-8.
I'm gonna go with the A's because they just been plugging away this whole entire season. I'd like to see the Rangers come back after all the nonsense with what happened with Nelson Cruz and losing Hamilton and the way they choked last season to the A's. But I love the A's story, how scrappy and gritty they are every night. You never know how they are gonna find a way to win games, but they do.
I like the Oakland team.
I do. They're scrappy as hell.
You know what I think would be, people would consider a snooze fest, but I would consider probably a very exciting World Series. Oakland and Pittsburgh.
That would be an epic World Series, but Zelig and the MLB will just cry.
Yeah, but as a fan,
that would be a very entertaining World Series.
2 teams with basically no names.
Pittsburgh would explode. That would be awesome. Especially anything with Pittsburgh.
But Oakland's got to wear the those like yellowy green uniforms, and Pittsburgh's got to whip out the yellow caps.
Gotcha.
So we could have a neon slugfest, and
yeah,
be interesting.
That would be.
But I would actually really enjoy that as a World Series matchup.
That would be a fun World Series matchup. Not gonna unlikely to happen, of course, but you never know. So
the 2 teams you got to think are on a crash course is Boston or Detroit versus the Dodgers.
Yeah,
the 3 teams.
And the Dodgers have. Remember when Don Mattingly was fired, and then now he's going to most likely win Manager of the Year.
It's amazing what happened.
It's amazing, and you can never take baseball for granted, and you never know what's going to happen.
Okay, fine. How about this? With the turnaround they have, if they bust in the postseason, does he get fired?
No. You got too much of an awesome turnaround, and granted, it's not what they wanted, but still better than nothing.
Okay. Alrighty. So, how about this? Let's go play a little more Division 1.1 submission.
Okay.
By the way, this is the Jason Bay episode.
Oh, it can't be Mike Cameron episode?
With John Buck.
On John Buck. And of course, it's Reggie Jackson's episode for the Yankees.
So. Hold on. I got other Met names. I gave it to Tommy the other day.
We'll be here for a while.
Aaron Harang has been given the number the rest of the year. John Buck was the last one. Jason Bay before that. Brady Clark before that. And let's see if you can name the guy before that. Al Mills.
Lasting's Village. Oh, God. How can I forget? Yeah.
On that note, we're going to go play a little more submission by Division 1.1, and we'll be right back with the Jets.
SND Podcast is in no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by Major League Baseball or any of its affiliates.
And welcome back to the SND Podcast show on the Schmuck Sports Network. Once again, that was submission by Division 1.1, and now let's get through one of the New York Jets.
Week 1 of the New York Jets, it was a lot different than what everybody expected. The Jets won a game. They beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
To be fair, they were given a game because of a very stupid penalty.
You're absolutely right.
Levant Davis.
You're absolutely right. But and
A
again,
win's a win.
A win's a win in the NFL. It only matters is wins and losses. And they got to win. And Geno Smith actually played pretty decent. He threw 38 times and completing 24 passes, and he gained 256 yards in the air, which was pretty impressive. And he also led the team in rushing.
Oh, yeah.
Which is nice to see.
Talk about quarterbacks leading their team in rushing later when we talk about the Giants. Yeesh.
Anyway, that's a different story. The story of this game was pretty much how sloppy the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was as an overall team. Over 10 penalties, which is never a good thing. Of course, the penalty at the end of the game was the most crucial that set up the game-winning field goal by Folk.
Yes.
Martin played all right. The Jets' run defense played superb, but did not break. He only averaged 2.7 yards per carry. Vincent Jackson was an absolute beast. He should have had a little bit more. He should have had a touchdown in the game, but a good job by the Jets making a nice stop at the end, around the goal line to stop him from scoring, which is very, very key on showing on how Rex Ryan's defenses always show up to play, no matter how bad the rest of the team may be.
Yeah. Dylan Winslow showed that he's going to be a target this year.
Yeah, he
getting
did.
7 catches off of Geno. Stephen Hill had a good game. Al Powell played all around well. 38 passes for a rookie in his first game is a lot.
That is a lot of really. You're probably going to see a cut down in that as the weeks come by.
You got to think, especially a week like this week coming up, they're playing in New England. They're going to look to try to run the ball, keep Tom Brady off the field. As for the Jet defense, every time I looked at the game, they looked like they were doing something else good. Sheldon Richardson with a sack. Landry had a pick. Yeah,
no, Landry's pick was, like I said, it was just very brutal on how... It was just very brutal. It was just brutal on some of the plays that Josh Freeman threw. It was just one of those, what the heck is going on with this kind of... Just where are you throwing the ball kind of thing. He was too happy on Vincent Jackson, and he threw it over the window with double coverage, and it was right to Landry. And it was just one of those scratching your head. A lot of the time was just while watching this game, you're just scratching your head. And at my hangout, people are like, why are you rooting against the Jets? And I'm like, I'm not rooting against the Jets. I'm just saying how stupid the Buccaneers are making stupid plays that if any other good team would make, and the Jets would have never been even close into this game. So kudos to the Jets for holding inside the game and being able to take care of their business and be able to use the gifts that they were given to capitalize on their first win of the season.
Of course, the biggest talk with this week was Revis, who had 1 tackle in the game.
But that just shows how much they just didn't target anywhere near Revis. Obviously, Revis has been a Jet their whole career, and they know how awesome.
They're not dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's plan to throw it at the
exactly. So you kind of expected that, especially coming out of the Jets. They were going to go nowhere near Darrelle Revis and make him earn if they throw it to him, it was a stupid mistake kind of sort of thing. But they wanted to make sure the rookie quarterback was nowhere near going to be throwing picks to Darrelle Revis, especially They know how good they are.
Made a good game plan. That's what it comes down to. They had a good game plan for the rookie to play well and succeed with it. But now let's see what they do on a short week, and they go over to
short week, and they're playing the division rival New England Patriots. It's not going to look pretty. I'm not going to even going to sugarcoat it. Obviously, the Pats are the class of the division. Granted, they snuck one out against Buffalo, but it's their home opener against the hated Jets. A rookie first road start.
Not even a road start. It's a tough road start.
No, exactly. In the division, it's not going to be pretty at all. I think the Jets will keep it interesting a while, but the Patriots defense is going to trick them into doing something stupid and capitalizing.
Did the Patriots cover?
Yes. What's the spread?
12.
12? I don't think so.
Think it's going to be less?
Part of me wants to say yes, but part of me wants to say
I'm going to say the Pats cover this game. I just see them covering. Even though they basically have 0 wide receivers playing.
Yeah, everybody.
They already announced Gronk and Amendola are out.
Yeah,
Vereen, who had 14 carries for 101 yards
and he
last
broke
year,
his
with
wrist.
a broken wrist. He did that. Ridley, who had 2 fumbles, is going to be back in.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We're going to have Keith on Schmuck Sports. He's going to talk about what to do in Patriots land and what
fantasy.
Because I know Edelman is one of the key pickups in waiver wire this week, all of fantasy football. So I'm sure he's going to have good insight on that. But like I said, it's a rivalry game. But last time the two teams played, it was the butt fumble game, the infamous butt fumble game. So you might be right with the cover, and I'll go with the cover as well. Because it's just New England being going to be New England and stick it up the Jets, you know what?
Right.
Kind of start game. I have that sneaky feeling.
You know Belichick's already been planning for this game for a while.
Exactly.
And, you know, when he wants to win a game, and goes all in for it, he's going to win a game. That's just who he is. And like we've said before, it's not the receivers who make a quarterback. It's the quarterback who makes the receivers. So, I mean, whoever Tom Brady throws to, I'm not worried about.
Yeah, Tom Brady's Tom Brady. He's gonna find his weapons, and by the end of the season, guys that are starting to, they're young guys. They're gonna learn a lot under Tom Brady, obviously, and become studs. And watch them grow. It's gonna be interesting to watch them grow weekly and see who's gonna dominate.
Yeah.
Of course, it's really sad to see Amendola already hurt, which we both predicted, unfortunately.
Well, the funny part about that is that we actually expected he got hurt in the game and came back, and he's been hurt, which could be also one of those Bill Belichick. Let's put him on the injured list every week, and then we're going to play him.
Maybe, but honestly,
I don't see it this week though. Not on a short week.
Not this week. But
Actually, at my hangout, our friend Vin was hanging out and made the joke that he's surprised Aaron Hernandez isn't on the injury report. That's how funny the Patriot injury report is every week.
Very, very funny. That's clever. But honestly, honestly, they're gonna find a way to get things going like they always do. Julian Edelman, like I mentioned before, had a pretty solid game. So maybe the Jets are going to start. I mean, not the Jets. The Pats are going to start using him a little bit more. But the Jets do have good safe cornerbacks. So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be locked up with Edelman and how that's going to work out.
It's going to be an interesting week, like I said. Like we both said, Patriots covering. They do play tomorrow on the 12th or tonight, whenever you're listening to the show. Or they may have already played.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
it's hopefully... I don't know. It's just going to be...
It's a tough situation for Geno Smith. That's what it comes down to.
You'd be surprised if... You wouldn't be surprised if the Jets didn't cover... If the Jets found a way to cover because Geno Smith pulled one out of his butt. Right. But the Patriots are not the Buccaneers and not giving them 10 penalties, and they're not throwing crappy interceptions. If Tom Brady does give up an interception, you know it was one of those, wow, okay, that was a nice play by the Jets, not one of those coverage picks that he throws over the wide receiver by 20 yards and the safety just takes it and runs kind of thing. So you still had those glimpses of Geno Smith being a rookie, and that's what ultimately is that he is. He is a rookie, so he's not going to be doing well in New England. It's just one of those freaky things. He's not an RG3. He's not a Andrew Luck who would be going to New England kind of thing. Maybe you have a fighting chance, but it's not going to end pretty.
Right. On that note about not being pretty, let's go play a little more Division 1.1, and we'll be right back with the Giants.
S&D Podcast is in no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by the National Football League or any of its affiliates.
Back to the S&D podcast. You just listened to the submission again, this week's song by Division 1.1. A little less somber note on after we talked about the Jets winning. We have to talk about the New York Football Giants. How
Yikes.
Ugly and sloppy that game was against the hated Cowboys. We both obviously got the prediction wrong. What happened? I know I'll have you talk first because I could go on for days and days. And
You know what's amazing?
But we should have gotten blown out, and the Cowboys didn't capitalize on that at all.
Yeah. Like, I had complete confidence until
Me too.
Eli threw that pick six at the end.
Me too.
With like 2 and change left there, less than 2 minutes. I mean, if you just take that out, or one fumble from David Wilson out, you win this game. Basically.
It was just crazy to see our first 3 drives stalled on turnovers, and
yet we still
and we just had no luck. We just had no luck that whole entire game, kind of thing. It's just one of those mind-boggling things. Like the season started on a messed up interception off a screen pass. How often do you see that happen? You never see that happen, and it's just one of those things. The defense played really well, considering all things. Giving up 6 turnovers, and the defense really played well. Some nights you'd be like, "Wow, the Giants' defense didn't show up at all," kind of nights.
Right.
But the Giants' defense really played well. I wish they got to the court Romo a little bit more.
Speaking of, I'll tell you what, I was counting their season over as soon as he took that hit.
Honestly, give Romo a lot of credit. A lot of people thought so, especially coming back out of the second half. Everybody was expecting Kyle Orton, and kudos to Romo. And obviously, Eli and the wide receivers played amazing. Victor Cruz had 3 touchdowns.
Yes.
Ruben Randall and Akeem Nicks also got 100 yards receiving as well. Like I've been saying, the 3 of them are...
The receiver numbers, by the way, are Myers 7 for 66 and a touchdown, Cruz 5 for 118 and 3, Nicks 5 for 114, and Randall for 5 for 101.
It was granted it was garbage time, but it was nice to see Myers getting a lot of garbage yardage and receptions.
It was good. It's
to
good
build
to
it up.
That, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
It's good to see later. I think later in the year that connection is going to be really important.
Oh, it's gonna be obviously going to be really important. It's nice to have a actual solid, good catching tight end.
Of course.
Granted, the tight ends we've had in the past couple of years were good and serviceable, but he's clearly the best one we've had.
And one thing I like about him is also he can block. He's an all-around tight end. He's not a one play out to bring Bear Pasco in to block.
Yes, okay. and that was refreshing to see. Obviously our wide receivers, but the big problem this week is turnovers and our running game.
What running game?
It was nowhere to be found. The minute David Wilson, this is what frustrates me. I'll tell you. I'm gonna try to be as quick with this. What frustrates me about it is I know Coughlin has to be the hard ass all the time with fumbling. If you fumble, you're not gonna play. Fair enough. But that's when we had Ahmad Bradshaw and we had Andre Brown.
Not Darrell Scott
kind of thing. Fine. If you give him a series or 2, fine.
Yeah.
But on the meaningful series to hopefully win the game, you had to put him back out.
I'm going to tell you exactly why, and it had nothing to do with the.
I know.
It had to do with blocking.
You're absolutely right. There was a couple of plays that Eli Manning should have gotten killed.
Right.
And I'm with you, but I'm sure we would have survived and had Eli survive and dump off a big play to David Wilson maybe, and he redeemed himself and maybe won the game. Which you weren't going to get with Darrell Scott. I'm sorry.
Right. But I understand that, and I agree with you. But like I said, it came down to blocking.
But it had to happen. But I wish it didn't have to happen, obviously, against the Cowboys, that he had to bench him, especially with our depth. But like I said, we're going to laugh at this at the end of the year when David Wilson rushes for almost a couple thousand yards and maybe hopefully rushes a couple thousand yards, and he is the one of the most premier backs in the league.
We hope so.
We hope so, at least. But this game was just one of those bad games. Thank God it was in the early of the year where we can build up. But this is just typical Giants. Well, obviously, with the signing with Brandon Jacobs, we're both really happy about that. That's what we need. We need that motivation in our locker room and teaching David Wilson, like how Ahmad Bradshaw was last year. But we know Wilson's going to be getting the carries. But on that third down, when we need blocking, it's going to be Bradshaw, and he's going to... Jacobs, I'm sorry. Jacobs is going to get those tough yards, hopefully. And it's going to be interesting to see. Last year, he only gained 7 yards, but it was just a deep backfield with the 49ers, and he was a malcontent. I think Jacobs now is going to be humbled, and he's going to help the Giants get some wins. It's definitely going to happen. He's going to make sure he's not going to take that crap from David Wilson. Even Antrell Roll on his weekly spot with Joe Evan, and he's absolutely right. This is why I love Antrell Roll as a captain. He's not gonna roll any punches on anybody. He's gonna call it how he sees it. And Antrell Roll is right. If David Wilson, it's time to man up or shut up. And he's going to man up. There's no reason why he wouldn't man up. He has all the talent in the world. So, with that being said, this week is a very tough matchup against the Broncos. And the Giants...
Before we move forward, I'll give you the Elias interesting fact of the week.
Okay.
First ever time in the Super Bowl era, 2 quarterbacks coming off 400-yard passing games will play each other.
Oh, that's crazy.
They're actually 1-2 in passing yards.
I know. And that's just says something. How shitty we were is how close we were to winning. And that just shows... And you know, non-Giant fans are going to be, oh, you can't even give the Cowboys credit for winning. Of course. They got the turnovers. They got everything. But it was self-inflicted wounds. And I hope... And by the way, the game ball goes to, on defense, Aaron Ross for shutting down Dez Bryant after Prince Amukamara got hurt.
Yes, Dez. Tuck looked
good. I haven't seen Tuck look like that in years.
Yeah.
Since the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
I think Collinsworth said it the best. It's like, this is not just a Tuck we've been watching.
JPP has to get going.
You know what? He had the first game.
No, that's what I'm saying. You know he wasn't ready yet.
For what he did, he played well enough.
No, that's what I'm saying. I wasn't complaining, but
you know who else played well? The rookie, Jason Pugh on the offensive line.
Yeah, they played. The offensive line played pretty well.
Granted, they weren't 100%.
Unfortunately, Beatty had to play DeMarcus Ware by himself the majority of the game, which
you got to help the rookie.
Of course.
And hopefully this week we won't have to face Von Miller.
Yes, that's going to be key. Unfortunately,
we're playing the Broncos.
I don't expect Peyton to score 7 touchdowns this time.
So 9. Your cousin I saw tweeted 9.
No, I think
if he gets 9, Eli's got to be able to get 8.
Honestly, it's going to be one of those typical Giant games that it'll be close to the end of the game. Just hopefully the right Manning gets the ball.
Hopefully the right Manning has the ball at the end. That's what you got to pray for.
Hopefully number 10 opposed to 18 gets the ball. Because if number 18 has the ball at the end of the game to get a game-winning score, we're not winning. That offense, oh my God.
That's scary.
That is scary.
And you know what's
with
scary
Wes
about
Walker and Decker and both Thomases.
And the scariest part...
And their three-headed running attack that they can easily get going at any moment.
And it's scary to think that they just keep saying they're going to keep spreading the ball around. Like,
it's a scary thought.
Just the idea of Peyton Manning having 10 days to get ready for your team is just a scary thought. Not even... Granted, who even cares who his receivers are?
Thank God the Giants played decent. Like defensively,
I want a decent game again, though.
Oh no, of course. But I'm really happy on how the way the Giants played, because normally Tony Romo shreds us, and he had a decent game. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he didn't. He normally shreds us a lot worse than he really did. Yeah. So kudos to the Giants secondary for stepping up. Sean Mundy had a nice pick. Hopefully Dan Connors is back and healthy. And hopefully Prince's head is straight. And, by the way, congratulations to Terrell Thomas playing for the first time in 2 years, being back. So that was good to see. He was our number 1 DB 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
So that's great to see. All our secondary depth's going to really help us at the end of this year.
You know what was interesting with Romo last week? By the way, his final numbers were 36 of 49, 263, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. He had like 35 pass attempts in the first half.
It was mostly in the first half, and that just showed. But they had the ball the whole first quarter.
Well, yeah, we kept giving it to them.
Yeah.
But yeah. Jason Witten had another touchdown. Jason Witten is probably my favorite tight end in the league. 2 touchdowns, actually.
Yeah, Witten had a good game. Miles Austin, as always, killed the Giants as well because they doubled Dez Bryant, and Wynn opened it up enough for him.
And you know what else the Cowboys showed? They showed that if they can keep DeMarco Murray healthy this year, that's going to add an aspect they haven't had since Emmett.
I hate saying this as for being a Giant fan, but Murphy Law has the Cowboys making the playoffs this year.
Oh, yeah.
It's just Murphy's Law, and hopefully that Murphy's Law doesn't come true. But one of these years the Cowboys are due, and Romo is due for a run. It's really do. Maybe this year might be the year. I'm not saying yes or no to that, but the Cowboys need a little bit more working to do. They don't put the kill. They don't have that kill. They should have killed the Giants in the first quarter.
Oh, yeah. If they gain that kill,
they should have. If they gain that kill, they're going to be able to win the division and make a run in the playoffs, like the Giants did a few years back.
Yeah, but it is also only week 1.
It is also week 1. A lot of things could happen with injuries and health and all that fun.
But right now, we're going to go play a little more Division 1.1 submission. Then we're going to come back with Keith, talk some fantasy football.
S&D Podcast is in no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by the National Football League or any of its affiliates.
And welcome back to the S&D Podcast show on the Schmuck Sports Network. Once again, that was Division 1.1 with submission. Now we'd like to welcome in a guest of ours from schmucksports.com himself, co-owner, co-founder, Keith. Welcome to the show, Keith.
What's up, Keith?
What's up, guys? I'm good. How are you guys?
Great.
Good. Before we move forward, a quick shout out to Keith's dad, Andy. Happy birthday, Andy.
Yeah,
Gotta give Andy a shout out.
We just had some cake.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you got to give Andy a shout out.
Yeah, of course.
He'd come in like second place in our NCAA poll. So
yeah.
I'm sure he wears that shirt proudly.
He does. He wears it around the house. Seriously.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Week 1 in the books of the NFL, and we know you've been doing a lot of NFL stuff, fantasy football mainly. Why don't you tell us some of the things you've been up to?
So I've been writing for a website called LateRoundQB.com, so you can find my kicker articles up there. Generally, I've just been tweeting about it during the games on Sunday. I'll live tweet whatever games are going on, and I have the League Pass on my iPad, so I'm able to watch any exciting game that's going on that's out of market on that. And we just put up a huge preview on the New England Patriots, and every Wednesday or Thursday we're going to try and get a breakdown of each and every team that's on the Thursday night game. So throughout the season, we'll have a preview of all 32 teams up there. So we have a huge New England Patriots article up, fantasy, real life, all kinds of perspective. And so that's what we've been working on now, just ramping up our football coverage. Football is kind of where we got started. That's where our bread is buttered, so to speak. So we're really amped about it. We're really excited. So I'm just consuming as much football as possible.
All right. Speaking of the Patriots, this is actually a good segue. One of the key pickups on waiver wires around the whole nation is Julian Edelman. What do you think about Julian Edelman coming this week against the Jets, the short week, especially with Danny Amendola hurt and not so many reliable wide receivers in the Patriots stable at the moment?
Yeah, well, I think you said it. The fact that they don't really have anybody. Zach Sudfeld looks like he's not going to be what everybody thought he was, and they just lost Vereen until at least week 11, and they're not going to have Amendola. So, I mean, Tom Brady's got to throw to somebody, and until Tom Brady shows that he just doesn't have it anymore, he's going to have some guy that has fantasy value, and Amendola had a huge game last week. I think he had 10 catches or something like that, yes. And in a PPR league, that's huge. So Edelman was a very hot pickup, and as he should be. And the Jets defense looked better than I think people thought. Well, I'm not sure if it was the Jets defense or if it was Tampa's offense.
I think it was more Tampa's offense.
It definitely might have been. But the Patriots are going to be able to move the ball, I think. And Edelman, as long as Amendola's out, and Amendola has a history of being out, and as long as Gronkowski is injured and he's out this week, and it might not even be next week that he's back. Edelman has a ton of fantasy value, particularly in PPR leagues. I mean, you're talking about, top 24 guy. So that's better than wide receiver 2 if you're in a 12-team league, So I really like him this week, and I like him moving forward as long as there's nobody there to eat his lunch, so to speak.
Okay, so you're starting him.
It depends on what else you have. I mean, you could hypothetically have, Calvin Johnson and Deshaun Jackson, and then you wouldn't be starting him probably. But if he's definitely worth a pickup in every single league, because you start between 2 and 3 wide receivers in a standard league because of the flex. Everyone in a 12-team league is going to have a spot for this guy. So if you have a chance to get him, you should go get him, is my opinion, even if he has to sit on your bench.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned Deshaun Jackson, seeing how that offense played Monday night. What is your take on the 3 main guys on that offense? McCoy, of course, is always valuable in fantasy football, but do you think I know I had Deshaun last year, and in a PPR league, he bothered me because every other week, it's like he wasn't even.
Yeah, no, I know, and I've been frustrated with him in the past too. He had that one big breakout. He hit his first breakout year, and I said, "This is for real. This is a guy that, he has basically runs one route, and you could easily take him out of the game." And then the next year, he did the exact same thing, and I said, "Well, maybe it's for real." And I liked him that year, and then he didn't do anything the next year. But it looks like they're looking for him, and it looks like this offense is going to try and run as many plays as possible. My concern would be, you look at how many plays Michael Vick played. You're talking about like 2.5 games worth of snaps because they run so many plays and they run them so fast, and he's taking a ton of hits. Is Deshaun Jackson going to have the same value if Nick Foles is behind center? I don't know. But as long as Michael Vick is healthy, Deshaun Jackson is probably going to be really good. Shady McCoy is always going to be really good as long as he plays, and he had some injury issues last year. But when LeSean McCoy was on the field last year, he was a top 12 back every week, and that's a RB1 in a 12-team league. So I really like LeSean McCoy. Vick, as long as he's healthy, has to be a top 10 quarterback, and Jackson, as long as Vick is healthy, has to be a top 24 receiver. It looks like, because that seems to be the only guy he's really looking for.
Alrighty. All right. Give us your biggest overreaction.
Biggest overreaction. I think people are a little bit overreacting on Eric Decker. People are kind of worried about it, and this is what I said. He dropped a touchdown. A pass he probably catches 80% of the time, and he dropped a pass in the end zone that he got both hands on. The next play, Wes Welker scored. So Wes Welker wound up with 2 touchdowns. If Eric Decker catches that ball, we're talking an 11, 12-point game from him, and we're talking about how Peyton Manning spreads the ball all around the field, because at that point, both Thomas guys had 2. Caldwell had 1, Welker had 1, and Decker would have had 1. And, but instead we're talking about, we ignored Decker. This isn't going to happen every week. Decker's too talented, and I think people have just kind of hit the panic button on him. He's going to be fine.
Okay, that's good, because I have Decker in one of my leagues.
Yeah, I have Decker in a couple of leagues.
And I didn't play him. I was like, thank God. Well, not thank God, but I'm happy I made the right decision looking back at it. But hopefully, I obviously need Decker to step up for me to have any shot this year.
The only teams I have him on, he was my 3rd or 4th wide receiver, so he was on the bench. But he will. I believe he's going to have value. I think everyone in that offense that catches the ball is going to have value. You're seeing Julius Thomas fly off the waiver wire, and Welker's going to have value too. Welker's going to catch a ton of passes because it's a PPR league, but in a PPR league, he's going to be great as he always is. But I'm convinced Decker is going to be fine, and he'll get his. He had the targets, so I'm not really worried about it. I'd be worried if he got 2 targets all game in a game where he's threw 7 touchdowns. That would be concerning to me, but that's not what happened. So I'm okay with him for now.
All right, yeah. I don't know. I had a very, very, very fluky week combined with all my teams. Like, for example, I had Marshawn Lynch only scoring me 4 points in a standard league. That's never going to happen, probably ever for a very long time. That very rarely happens. Calvin Johnson in another league scored 2 points.
Right.
It was just one of those wacky weeks, and it was just I just had bad luck from the get-go for this whole week for all 5 of my teams. I with all my leagues, I was 2-3. So it was just one of those frustrating weeks because, like, would you ever thought Calvin Johnson would score 2?
Right. But factor in, he had one ball that it looked like he caught, and he got it into the end zone.
Yeah.
And it was originally called a touchdown. They called it back. And then he had one where he caught the ball and his foot was barely out of bounds in the end zone. Or he hit the ground and the ball popped out. Something weird happened where he had possession. He had it in his hands in the end zone. So, you talk about he catches those 2 passes, and then all of a sudden you're talking about a 16-point game, right? Mm-hmm. So, I'm not that worried about it. He'll be fine.
Oh, neither am I. It's just really fluky.
These are things that happen, and you just sort of have to
take it. Obviously,
got to roll with it. You can't. It'd be one thing if I, had if I was relying on like Shane Vereen and he went down, he gets injured, or Lamar Miller just looking terrible, and Daniel Thomas getting the goal. Those kind of things I think people might need to worry about. Calvin Johnson is not a guy that I feel like people have to worry about. Neither is Marshawn Lynch. He'll be fine.
Yeah, of course.
The defense for Carolina, the run defense is actually, I think, better than people think. They have Luke Kuechly, who's really good. So I think he'll be fine, and he'll get his. And with a lot of these running backs nowadays, everyone knows that it's running back by committee. As long as Marshawn Lynch is healthy, he's the guy. So there's not that many people you could say that about, and he's the guy on a good team. So he's going to be valuable. It's impossible for him not to be.
Okay, we are a basic tri-state area sports show, so I got to ask, if there's a Jet with value in fantasy football, who is it?
If it's a Jet with value in fantasy football, who is it? That's a great question.
And offensive linemen and defensive linemen don't count.
There might not be one. The one being okay, for the same reason a guy like Terrell Pryor would be okay, is Geno Smith. If he's going to run around a little bit, and he'll sort of be like a matchup fill-in kind of guy. And, if he can add 2 or 3 points from running around, that's kind of valuable. That's talking about an extra 50 or 75, the equivalent of him throwing an extra 50 or 75 yards, the difference between a 225-yard game and a 300-yard game. So I think that he might be valuable. Curley might be okay. Other than that, I've never been a guy who really likes Santonio Holmes. I don't think I've ever owned him in any league where I would need to start him. And the running back situation is kind of concerning. I wasn't really buying that heavily into Chris Ivory. And I still don't after last week. I mean, they had every opportunity because Tampa Bay just looks so bad, and nobody really stood out, and that's kind of an issue. That's a game they probably should have lost too. But
what about Kellen Winslow?
Kellen Winslow has been a hot pickup. Yeah, that's actually probably the guy, because it looked like Geno Smith was kind of just comfortable throwing it to him. And a lot of fantasy football is realizing, hey, if the quarterback likes throwing to this guy, then he's going to have value. Whether or not you think, I don't think Kellen Winslow is that good of a football player, but it doesn't really matter what I think. If Geno Smith likes him, then he's going to catch passes, right? So, yeah, Kellen Winslow is tight end. I kind of ignore because I think there's just so many guys at the same level, and Kellen Winslow's right there with all those guys like Julius Thomas kind of guys, like Ed Dixon's a little lower than that, but Brandon Myers,
right.
Like a whole bunch of guys between like 7 and 17 that are kind of similar, and he's definitely in that range, I think.
One of the guys I like this year is the guy in Cleveland,
Jordan Cameron. He's very trendy. The fantasy community was falling all over themselves. They were kind of falling all over themselves for all of Cleveland, and I wasn't totally buying in. I figured some guy was going to have value, and it looks like Jordan Cameron's it. But there's a reason I don't own Trent Richardson in any leagues, and the quarterback's still Brandon Weeden, right?
Right.
So,
The one thing with Cameron is the Norv Toner offense has always been
very kind to the tight end,
right.
So,
and you saw that in San Diego a lot with Antonio Gates.
But my attitude was Antonio Gates is a really insanely good athlete. Is Jordan Cameron an insanely? I mean, he's a better athlete than I am, but he's not a two-sport athlete like Antonio Gates, but he looked really good. So he's a guy that probably was drafted, depending on when you drafted. But yeah, if he's still there, there's no way he should not be owned even in 10-team leagues, because it looks like he's going to have a ton of opportunity to score some touchdowns here.
All right, with the other New York team, what's your take on the whole fumbleitis on David Wilson?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw what he tweeted. We're recording this on Wednesday. I don't know if you guys saw what he tweeted, but he said basically, I don't care. Fantasy owners and angry Giant fans, you guys are irrelevant to me, which is probably not a smart thing for him to do.
No, yeah, he apologized this morning, and I'm deeply sure regresses that.
I'm sure his agent told him he had to apologize, but
yeah.
Either way, the biggest indication for me that he's going to be okay is that they signed Brandon Jacobs. If they had went and they had gotten a guy that I was more confident could carry a lot of the load, like a Willis McGahee, I would be kind of worried about his position. Look, David Wilson is the best running back that they have. Tom Coughlin will do these things, and I know that he hit the doghouse last year for like 10 games. But, what they have to do, if someone's going to run the ball. Someone's got to run the ball. And he's clearly the best guy they have. They clearly didn't sign Brandon Jacobs to be the 20 carry back. They signed him to, I think, kind of mentor David Wilson because he knows the system. So I'm not really worried about it. If they had gotten like a Willis McGahee, I'd be worried about it, but I'm not worried about it just yet. If you could buy him low, I think that there might be some panicky David Wilson owner out there who might be willing to trade him for nothing. But I'm hanging on to him if I have him. You bought in, people drafted last week and they spent whatever draft pick they spent on him. It was high. So cutting bait after 1 week is not the way to do it for me. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Sticking with the running backs, what is your take on Lamar Miller?
Oh, I mentioned it earlier. My attitude going into this season was I saw Lamar Miller kept kind of climbing in the drafts as drafts went on. He just kept getting more and more hype. And then I looked and I said, can this guy have one good game before we go crazy? I mean, he had I don't know how many carries it was, but it was less than 75 in his career. So he never really had a good game ever. I mean, he had opportunity, and I know that people, they kind of just say oh, Daniel Thomas is terrible. So he's the guy there. And people like Lamar Miller's talent, but, I'm more concerned about Lamar Miller than I am about David Wilson because I'm convinced David Wilson can play a good football game. I don't know that Lamar Miller can, and the fact that he had 10 carries for what was it, 3 yards? He had a horrible game, and I know that people were sort of bullish on the Cleveland Browns front line, but I mean that's concerning to me, and I am concerned. I think if you trade him now, you're not really going to get anything for him. So if you have him, you might as well hold on to him. But if you have somebody else that's even close to being worth starting, I would bench Lamar Miller until he shows that he can do it. Because I don't know that he can, because he hasn't done it yet. So that's just my opinion. I know that a lot of people will hate me because I hate on Lamar Miller, but let's see him have a good game first. Before.
All right, we're gonna switch gears a little bit and talk about your personal favorite team. A little Oakland Raider talk. Better than what you expected coming out of week 1, right?
Definitely better than what I expect them to lose that game by 30, and I don't know if the Raiders defense is a little bit better than we think it is, or if the Colts offense is a little bit worse than we think it is. But whatever the case was, I mean, the Raiders were in position to win that game. Terrell Pryor is basically a rookie who made some big mistakes, but he was able to deal with getting flushed from the pocket. He was able to run around. I mean, he had over 100 yards rushing. I don't know how long that's going to last. From a fantasy perspective, I love it because that's 10 points on the ground right there. That's before you even get into to the passing game. The offensive line is going to struggle, and I'm not convinced that their defense is all that good yet. But they look better than I thought they would. And the big thing from a Raiders fan perspective is at least they're fun to watch. I mean, Terrell Pryor might not be a great quarterback, but at least he's exciting. Matt Flynn is just not good and not exciting. So, I had a great time watching the game, and it was the first time I remember in a while having a really fun time watching a game that they eventually lost. I had fun though. I'm excited. I'm excited to watch, and even if they win 3 games this year, at least it'll be fun. It'll be fun to watch Terrell Pryor run around and make some plays, because if you watch some of those highlights, man, he made some great plays. And escaping the pocket and making a good throw, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Well, you get one of your wins this week. Well, can't guarantee it, but it's pretty much in the bag.
Yeah,
against the Jaguars. Terrell Pryor, like you mentioned, Terrell Pryor did look like a rookie for a lot of parts of the game, but 100 yards rushing by your quarterback is 100 yards rushing by your quarterback and everything else. So it's gonna be interesting to see when he hits that quote unquote wall that new starters haven't been able to play the 16 games. It's going to be interesting to see when he gets to hit the wall and how he's able to bounce back with his athletic abilities and everything like that.
I'm interested to see.
Well, that's exciting. I mean, like a guy like Matt Flynn isn't really going to. Yeah, I mean, a guy like Matt Flynn isn't really going to give you a chance to be a really fun team, and at least I know if there might be a defensive coordinator who could figure out, if we do 2 or 3 things, we'll be able to neutralize a lot of what Terrell Pryor brings to the table. But how can you account really for throwing a full blitz at a guy and he just runs around everybody and gains 10, 15, 20 yards? It'll be a lot of fun to watch, and we'll see how he deals with it. One thing I do like, and hopefully it's not a confidence issue, but he said, I put this loss on myself. He said all the right things. He said, I should have played better. I should have not thrown a late interception. I should have played smarter, and he knows he's a better quarterback than even what he showed. As long as he's not, his confidence isn't destroyed. He's the type of quarterback that if he's going to take responsibility, hey, he can be as good as whatever his talent will allow. What that ceiling is, who knows? But it seems like he says all the right things, and he's doing all the right things to gain a lot of favor with the Raiders coaching staff. So we'll see.
They have a bright future. And what's interesting about the Terrell Pryor pickup is that it was probably Al Davis's last move.
Mm-hmm.
For all those moves that everybody said, like Hayward Bay, why would you take him? And things like that. You look at it at Terrell Pryor and you think, okay, maybe his last move might have been one of his top moves. Could end up being one of his top moves.
I mean, I'll say that, one of the worst moves the team made was right after Al Davis died, was when they traded all those picks to get Carson Palmer. because Jason Campbell went down. I mean, that was, pretty soon after Al Davis passed away. And that was a bad move. So, you can't blame Al Davis for everything, but he always liked the athletes, and there was a time where that was he just got athletes and taught them to play football later. Terrell Pryor, I don't know that anybody would have taken him in the supplemental draft if the Raiders didn't take him, but he took a chance on this kid, and he's doing all the right things, and he's been given an opportunity, and it would be a really nice way to kind of end the legacy, even though passed on, if Terrell Pryor develops even into a quarterback that can make the Raiders a relevant team in the NFL. That would be a really kind of nice period at the end of the sentence, so to speak.
So, what's your Super Bowl prediction, Keith?
So, I was talking to my friend about it, and I said, I think it's going to be San Francisco, Denver. And then he was like, oh, everyone's saying that. So I feel like kind of like weird saying, but San Francisco looked really good against Green Bay. So, I mean, I think Colin Kaepernick is really good, and he doesn't even have to run around to be really good. He can throw the ball like so well deep, so accurately, and it seems like he's got a good rapport with Bolden already. I mean, Bolden had like 11, 12 catches, and he had like 6 on one drive, all to him in a row. And the way the Broncos looked, and I know that they kind of had a bone to pick with Baltimore. They probably felt like last year was their. They probably felt like last year was their year to win the Super Bowl, and they kind of felt like, if we didn't make one bonehead play, we win the Super Bowl that year, and not the Ravens. But they came out on fire, and the Ravens, like they looked like a college team out there compared to what the Broncos were doing on offense. And we'll see. I mean, it's week 1, so it's early. But yeah, I'm going to stick with it, even though it's kind of a trendy pick. I'll pick the Broncos to beat the Niners.
Okay. In the snow at MetLife Stadium.
MetLife Stadium, yeah. Super Bowl in Madden, and it was snowing.
Nice.
So that was kind of I know that's like everybody in the NFL's worst nightmare, but yeah.
They're already dreading the winter snow.
Yeah.
Figure it out. Yeah.
Well, they already ruined it by having Bruno Mars as the halftime show guy.
I mean, my attitude is they're probably never going to pick somebody that I'm like super into. So, like, they're going to pick somebody who like, the casual football fan is going to want to sit there and watch, or like somebody who's not even into football, who's just watching it at a Super Bowl party, is going to want to watch. So, Beyonce, Madonna, is it worse than those? I don't know. Whatever. I just hope the game's good.
Yeah. Just give us a good game.
Yeah. And they've been good recently, so that's nice. When we were kids, they were always
There were always blowouts.
Yeah. I remember in like the mid-90s, like every Super Bowl was horrible.
Yeah.
Really good. So hopefully that streak continues. That's the way it should end. That's the way football should end.
Absolutely.
Definitely. It's at the Real KB.
At the Real K Black 25. I was thinking about changing it. What do you guys think? So I have Meta World Keith.
Oh no.
Reserved.
Wait a couple weeks. Let's wait a couple weeks for that one.
Yeah, and they made me like follow like 5 people. So if you look at it, I'm following 5 pretty interesting people. So I'll let you guys figure it out. But I was thinking about it, but I have it if I want it.
All right.
Changing his whole Twitter around.
Maybe not right now.
When are you getting that jersey, by the way?
Soon. If you have been in collecting jerseys as long as I have, you realize that before every season, starts, they'll have like it's the last weekend before the season, get your jerseys and you'll get like free shipping, or you'll get like buy one get one half off, like that kind of thing. So I just wait until so I'll probably get it like the week before the season starts, whenever they send me some coupon or something.
Yeah. They just send him the coupon because they know Keith.
Yeah.
They're like, Keith, we know you're buying. Here's a coupon.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, at the real KB Black, right?
At the real K Black 25.
25. Fantasy questions. Also at FF Schmucks.
Yes, and we do have, if you go to schmucksports.com right now, you will see a huge article on the Patriots. I'm going to put out a little bit of something on the Jets, talking about them from a real life perspective, what I thought from what I got from the game on Sunday, which is probably mostly that Tampa's terrible, but you'll be able to read it, and it'll be like a lot of words, like 1,000 words. So you'll be able to see that coming tomorrow. And we already have the Patriots up. And every week, Wednesday and Thursday, we'll have articles up about the two teams playing the Thursday night football game, sort of breaking each team down. So you'll be able to see. We'll be able to get everybody up there, which will be fun. We did it here. We had a great time. So
awesome. So thank you, Keith, for joining us.
Thanks, Keith.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
No problem. We love having you. We'll definitely do this again soon.
Yeah, for sure.
S&D Podcast is in no way affiliated with, associated with, produced, or endorsed by the National Football League or any of its affiliates.
Back to the S&D podcast. Thank you, Keith, for joining us.
Yes.
That was a very good, insightful segment we just had with. So hopefully you listen to him or don't listen to him and sit and start players that he mentioned. Hopefully you got them on the waiver wire and everything like that.
Also, don't forget any questions you have for Keith. The Twitter account is
The real
K Black 25. Or you can also hit him up on the Fantasy Football one, the Schmuck Sports site, which is at FF Schmucks. So hit him up on one of those. If you have any questions, he'll write to you. He also writes for Late Round Quarterback, which is also a great read if you ever get a chance.
It's pretty
check that out. So thank you again to him. Best of luck to his Raiders. I know he's excited about Terrell Pryor.
Yeah.
I guess he doesn't want the first pick next year.
No.
But thank you to him. It's week 2.
It's week 2. It's our favorite part of the show. I'm kind of confident. We actually did pretty solid last week. How did we do last week?
You had the Jaguars. That's all I know.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to be different because I knew you were obviously not going to pick the Jaguars. So that was just me being just funny and silly, and maybe they pulled that home upset, but that didn't happen.
Well, they scored 2 points for you.
Gotcha. They did score me 2 points, but it was just one of those days. It was...
Let's see. We got the Broncos. We got the Patriots. You got the Bears, Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
I got the Dolphins, Browns. You got the Lions. We got the Colts. We got the Saints. Both lost the Jet game.
And the Giant game.
And the Giant game. We both lost the Steeler game. You got the Seahawk game. I got the Chiefs game. We won the Rams game. You won the 49er game. Lost the Eagles game.
Yeah. That was one of those picks we both should have just picked the Eagles, but that was stupid on our part.
And then we both won
killed.
the late game. Yep. Which is, by the way, since we will do our picks now, I'm going to do my first game.
Okay.
I'll bring up my first game to choose. It's actually going to be those Eagles hosting San Diego Chargers. That's right. The San Diego Chargers are playing a late Monday night game. And then they have to travel on a short week across country and play a 1 o'clock game.
I don't buy it's a late Monday night game when it's 7 o'clock start in San Diego.
Okay, fair enough for that.
Like it would be a typical Monday night. It's a typical Monday night start for any East Coast team.
Right. Okay. There's no spread on it yet.
No spread yet? Okay.
No spread yet. Not one game has a spread yet except for tomorrow night, except for the Jet-Pats game. So.
All right, fair enough. I'm going to go with the Eagles.
Yeah.
The Eagles showed me something very impressive. If the Chargers knew how to close out games, they would they would have been 1-0, but they let the pesky and so much better than them Houston Texans come back and beat them. So I like how the Eagles' offense played. The Redskins were sucking face after the first drive. And that whole first, oh my God, it was bad.
You know what's scary about that? Chip Kelly came out and said the team wasn't fast enough. For
yeah, no, yeah, and then he's right. He is very right.
And Vic said they only showed like 60%.
Yeah, that's scary. They
have the perfect setup for that system.
They do.
Between McCoy, Vic, and Deshaun. He's going to be Vic being healthy.
This is what everybody was scared about.
Yeah. Every year when the rumors of him coming, Chip Kelly coming pro, will he have the offense to do it? And you know what? He picked the right offense.
And there's no way the Chargers are beating the Eagles at home. Their home opener. Hey, funny stat today. One of the guys in the NFL Network mentioned the last four Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, I saw
played
that.
The
Eagles week 1.
Week 1, week 2 of their home opener. That's crazy. They made it to the Super Bowl. So he goes Chargers ? I think that streak's gonna finally end. But that's an impressive stat. That is a very impressive stat.
The best thing about the NFL, you never know.
The Saints, the Packers, the Giants, the Niners. It's just one of those crazy things. What was another game that you had?
The other game I'm gonna look at is gonna be the Vikings and Bears.
Vikings and Bears.
It intrigues me.
That intrigues me a little bit. I have the Bears. I think them being home, they're a better team. They're other than Adrian Peterson, obviously it's the Minnesota Petersons.
Right.
But I just like the Bears, especially how they started the season off. They got the win, much needed to win, and they're home again. And they're. I just like the Bears at Soldier Field and Forte and Color and
I forgot which podcast.
Brendan Marshall's just a stud.
I forgot which podcast I was listening to. I think it was Rich Eisen. I was talking about, or it may have been Demashek and Rank.
Okay.
We're talking about it. Our friend Adam Rank. Talking about how can you plan for a Mark Trestman offense considering he's been in the CFL.
Yeah, it was Demashek.
And it's right.
Yeah,
got a valid point, but it's.
Yeah, it's very valid. I'm gonna take the Bears. I'm sticking with them. Like I said, if their offensive line stays right, they can fight the Packers for a division, and I'm gonna stick with that. But watch, AP's gonna break out for 200 yards rushing and they lose. But I'm going Bears.
Well, how about AP last week? 3 touchdowns under 100 yards.
Yeah, amazing. That really is sad because his first run was over 70 yards rushing.
Yeah,
so,
which credit to the Lions defense. That's what that
the Lions defense did show up and play well. All right, here are my 2 intriguing games. Obviously, the first one goes without saying. Marquee matchup of the whole entire week. 49ers Seahawks Sunday Night Football in Seattle, the 12th man.
I'm giving it to Seattle.
You're giving it to Seattle?
I think they barely pulled off a win last week, which is going to bother them. The thing that scares me with Seattle is they really don't have receivers at all. And that's why they traded for Percy Harvin, which got hurt. But I just think that at home, that defense, 12th man, it's just
all right.
Either that or a tie. The NFC West really likes a tie.
Honestly, I'm going to go opposite. I guess I'm really loving the 49ers. I'm sticking with the 49ers. They were my pick last week. They were pissed off on how they showed up last year at Quest. What their stadium's called? Quest. Whatever the 12th man is. They were
the weird looking thing in Seattle.
They got smacked up last year at Sunday Night Football, and they don't want that to happen again.
Okay.
Colin Kaepernick is a stud.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. It was amazing to see how awesome they were. They lit up the Packers D. Granted, the Packers D is nowhere near the Seahawks D, but I still think they're gonna find a way. Anquan Bolden's finally got that offense going again, and a stud quarterback to throw him the ball again.
Did you see the stat of? To be fair, he had Flacco throwing last year. Did you see the stat that he had 2 less catches and 5 less yards than the entire Raven wide receiver core? He
just had a outstanding game. Vernon Davis had a studly game as well. I'm gonna go with Niners. Until they show me otherwise, they're gonna be my weekly pick, and I could see them. I could see them pulling up the win in on the road. Especially they pack in good defense, and their offense is pretty solid. It's going to be up to the Legion of Boom in the secondary to disrupt that. But it's going to be it's going to be an awesome game. I can't wait to watch that game. Granted, hopefully I get home in time after the Giant game to check that out.
And your second game?
My second game. This is going to actually intrigue you a little bit.
Okay.
I'm going to go Lions-Cardinals.
I'll tell you what. I did get the anniversary edition of Madden this year to get NFL Sunday ticket. So basically, I could have watched any game at any point on my iPad Sunday. And, well, during my hangout, during the 4 o'clock games, we had the Packer game on the TV, like it was. Mm-hmm. But on the iPad, we actually had the Cardinal-Rams game. Cardinal offense was impressive.
Yeah, Larry
Fitzgerald had 2 touchdowns.
Larry Fitzgerald finally showed up for the last couple years. Granted, it wasn't his fault.
Where is that game? Arizona?
Arizona, yes.
I'm going to give it to the Lions still, because Reggie Bush has hurt. But that offense, they said he's playing.
They said he's playing, and
he brings that second dimension.
In our production meeting, I do have the Cardinals winning, but I'm going back to the Lions. I have the Lions winning.
You are going to take the Lions.
I'm taking the Lions. I'm changing my mind. I have to make sure you remember that, so you put that on record. I'm going back with the Lions. It's going to be another close game, but Megatron, I had Megatron last week on one of my leagues. He only scored me 2 points. That's not happening ever again for the rest of the season, I hope, at least. Megatron's going to have a better game. Stafford's going to have a better game. It's really going to be interesting to see if Reggie Bush keeps it up for another week. I know he has a messed up thumb, but he used the other hand for carrying purposes, and his groin is a little tweaked up. So it's going to be interesting to see how much Reggie Bush is going to be able to handle a load this week.
Speaking of fantasy, how did you do? How many leagues you in?
I'm in 5. I went 2 and 3, and it was just one of those off weeks in one league that it was just one of those really. But the 2 leagues I won barely. Thank God for Peyton Manning. Dave Wilson killed me in pretty much all my leagues.
Yes.
But other than that, it was just one of those rough weeks that I had to play against a very good team that my team wasn't ready for, or they just had a crappy week. I'll be there at the end of the year.
Right. I'm in 5 leagues as well. Went 3 and 2. And in one of my leagues, I'm going to tell you 4 players that I went up against going into the weekend.
Well, I played AP, so.
Okay, the guy had Flacco, Torrey Smith, half-point PPR, by the way.
Okay.
Torrey Smith, Marius Thomas, had Monty Ball also. Didn't really give him much.
Yeah. And
he also had the Denver defense. Mm-hmm. You'd think you'd lose that week, right?
Yeah.
Especially after Thursday night. Come on. Anquan Bolden and AJ Green, baby.
Yeah, that's impressive. Honestly, I snuck out the win when the league I had Peyton Manning in. The rest of my team did garbage. Thank God for Peyton Manning for scoring 60 points.
There are people I know who lost.
I was a point away from being one of those people. Honestly, it's just some of the players so you were like scratching your head.
It was a weird week.
It was a very weird week, and I'll be fine if that doesn't happen. I was in one league. I had Mike Wallace playing. He only got me 2 catches. I had Hartline on the bench. Go figure.
Did you win that league? Or
no. Imagine if I went the other way, I would have probably won that league.
Well, yeah.
It's just one of those things. Fantasy football is back, and
football's back.
Football's back. We're gonna have the rest of our picks like we did last week.
Yes, they'll be posted every week. Every Thursday morning, we will have our picks out there for everybody to see. Football starts on Thursdays now on.
Yep. Woohoo!
Every week until what? I think week 17? Maybe 16?
16 probably.
Okay.
Anyway, go Jets, go Giants, go Mets, go Yankees. The Islanders and Rangers are starting up this week.
Speaking of,
hockey's back.
Hockey will be back, and we're going to have our good friend Andy from Eyes on Isles,
and we also
have
his son Andrew coming on. He's a Ranger fan. That's going to be a little awkward.
So we're going to have a nice little family royale with the 2 of them in our hockey preview show. So look for that in the next couple of weeks.
The Ganisaros are going to be taking care of business.
So look for that in the next couple of weeks. Also, shout out to T-Bone.
T-Bone.
For his article on Eyes on Isles.
Check out T-Bone's Eyes on Isles. He's a rookie on Eyes on Isles. So congratulations to that. Thank you for Andy for hooking him up with that.
Of course.
Well deserved on both ends. And by the way, congratulations to Andy for getting credentials for the Islanders this year on the Islander blog being part of the On Their Blog box. So if you see Andy on Twitter and Facebook and all that fun stuff, if you haven't already, tell him congratulations and keep up the hard work.
Also, check out Division 1.1. Don't forget, if you like a T-shirt, it's like a button-down denim T-shirt. $20, large or extra large. Or if you like the trucker hat, you can check our Instagram. I was wearing it a couple weeks ago while we recorded. $10. Let us know. We'll get them for you.
Also, before I forget, good news. I spoke to Lisa the other day. She's in good spirits. She's actually having one of her final surgeries in a few weeks. So keep her in your prayers and everything else with that. Keep fighting, and we hope to speak to you soon on the show.
Yes. So check that out. Check all the stuff out we got going on. Follow us. Like us. You know what to do. Share us with your friends. We're going to go play the ending of submission. You guys have a good week. Football's back. Full swing.
See ya. Go Giants.
See you guys next week.